Right now, somewhere close to 37 million people in this country are walking around with damaged kidneys, and not one of them feels it happening. They're at work, they're at the gym, they're making dinner for their kids tonight, and the organ that's supposed to be quietly cleaning 50 gallons of blood every single day is slowly losing ground, one meal at a time, without sending out a single signal that anything is wrong. Here's what should terrify you about that sentence. You could lose more than half your kidney function, and your body would tell you almost nothing. No pain, no warning light, just a slow, silent decline that eventually shows up as a lab result nobody saw coming. I've sat across the table from people who heard a doctor say the words, "Your kidneys are failing," and I watched their faces try to make sense of how that was even possible when they'd never been sick a day in their life. The truth is, in most of those cases, it wasn't a mystery illness that did it. It was breakfast. It was lunch. It was the stuff sitting in their pantry that they never once suspected. My name is Jassica Williams, and over the next several minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly which everyday foods are putting the most pressure on your kidneys right now, why almost nobody talks about this clearly, and what you can start doing tonight to protect an organ that cannot ask for help when it's struggling. Stick around to the end, because the last thing I'm going to share with you is something most people never hear until it's already too late to use it. Let's start with something most people get completely backwards. When people picture kidney damage, they picture something dramatic, a toxic substance, a scary chemical, something with a skull on the label. That image is comforting in a strange way, because it lets you believe you're already safe. You don't eat poison, you eat normal food, so you must be fine. That belief is exactly what's putting so many people at risk. Your kidneys aren't being attacked by anything exotic. They're being worn down by foods that look completely innocent sitting on a grocery shelf. Foods marketed as convenient, sometimes even marketed as healthy. Foods that taste like nothing more than a normal Tuesday. And that's precisely what makes them dangerous. There's no internal alarm bell built into your body that goes off when you eat something your kidneys will regret in 15 years. Before I get into the specific foods, you need to understand one fact about how your kidneys actually work. Because once you understand this, everything else clicks into place. Inside each kidney, you have roughly 1 million microscopic filtering units. Tiny structures doing an enormous job, pulling waste out of your blood every minute of every day for your entire life. Here's the part that changes how you should think about food forever. You were born with every filtering unit you will ever have. They do not regenerate, they do not grow back. Once one of them is damaged beyond repair, it's gone permanently, and the remaining ones simply pick up the slack. That's why kidney decline is so quiet. Your kidneys don't complain when they're under stress, they just compensate. They work a little harder, then a lot harder. By the time you actually notice something, swelling in your ankles, fatigue that doesn't make sense, changes in how often you're running to the bathroom, you've usually already lost a significant chunk of function you're never getting back. So when I tell you that ordinary food choices can chip away at this system year after year, I'm not exaggerating for effect. I'm describing exactly how this disease usually develops in real people, in real kitchens, without anyone raising a single red flag until the damage is already substantial. Think about it this way. Your heart, when something's wrong, will sometimes give you a warning, a flutter, a tightness, a moment that makes you stop and pay attention. Your stomach will speak up when you've pushed it too far. Even your skin will show you signs when something internal is off. Your kidneys don't work that way. They were built to absorb stress quietly and keep functioning no matter what you throw at them, right up until the moment they genuinely can't compensate anymore. That resilience is exactly what makes them so easy to damage without noticing. There's no early complaint system built in. There's just steady, silent overwork. For years, until the lab results finally catch up to what's actually been happening the whole time. Now let's talk about what's actually doing this. I'm going to walk you through this in order of how commonly I see it show up. And trust me, the further we go, the more uncomfortable some of these are going to feel, because there's a real chance at least one of them is sitting in your refrigerator right now. Let's start with the one almost everyone underestimates. Sodium hiding in places you'd never think to look. You probably already know too much salt isn't great for you. What you probably don't know is where the vast majority of your sodium is actually coming from. It's not the salt shaker on your kitchen table. Studies tracking sodium intake consistently find that the shaker accounts for a small slice of what people actually consume in a day. The real flood comes from food that was salted before it ever reached your house. Sliced bread that doesn't taste salty at all can carry a surprising sodium load per slice. Breakfast cereal hides sodium behind sugar so you never taste it. A single can of soup can deliver close to a full day's recommended sodium in one sitting. Frozen dinners, the kind people grab on busy weeknights because they're tired and don't want to cook, can sometimes pack in nearly 2 days' worth of sodium in a single tray. Then there's deli meat, bacon, sausage, hot dogs, foods that have become breakfast staples and lunch staples in homes across the country, and that happen to be some of the most sodium-dense products in the entire grocery store. Add in pizza, which somehow manages to combine salted dough, salted cheese, and salted meat into one product. Add in fast food, where a single meal can blow past your entire daily sodium target before you finish the drink. Add in chips, crackers, pretzels, salad dressings, marinades, and the so-called healthy granola bars and instant oatmeal packets that quietly sneak sodium in to extend shelf life and boost flavor. Here's what all that sodium is actually doing inside your body. When sodium levels climb, your body holds onto extra water to dilute it. That extra fluid raises your blood pressure. And high blood pressure, sustained year after year, is one of the 2 biggest drivers of kidney disease on the planet. It damages the tiny blood vessels feeding those filtering units I told you about earlier, forcing them to operate under pressure they were never built to handle. At the same time, your kidneys are stuck working overtime hour after hour just to flush the excess sodium back out, wearing the entire system down a little more with every meal. If there's one habit that quietly protects your kidneys more than almost anything else, it's pulling back on processed and packaged food. Not necessarily the salt you add yourself at the table, but the boxes, bags, cans, and frozen trays that make up so much of the modern diet. Start flipping labels over. Look at sodium per realistic serving, not the tiny serving size printed to make the number look small. Cook simple meals from fresh ingredients and season them yourself, and you'll likely end up eating less sodium than you would from the healthier-sounding packaged version anyway. But sodium is only the beginning. There's a second ingredient hiding in processed food that almost nobody has ever heard of, and it might be doing even more long-term damage than the salt. This one lives quietly in the fine print of ingredient labels, and I'd bet most people watching this have never once noticed it. Added phosphate additives. Phosphorus itself isn't the villain here. Your body actually needs phosphorus for strong bones and basic cellular energy. And when it comes from natural sources, meat, fish, dairy, beans, nuts, your body absorbs it slowly and your kidneys handle it without much trouble. But the food industry discovered decades ago that adding inorganic phosphate to processed products makes them last longer on shelves, look better, and hold their texture. So now it's everywhere. It's in processed meats. It's in many dark sodas. It's in fast food. It's in packaged baked goods, cheese products, frozen meals, and instant foods of almost every kind. And here's the problem. Your body absorbs this added, manufactured phosphorus almost completely, far more efficiently than the phosphorus naturally bound up in real food. That means your kidneys are stuck filtering out a much bigger phosphorus load than they were ever designed to handle, day after day, for years. Over time, that excess phosphorus contributes to calcium buildup in blood vessels throughout your body, speeds up artery hardening, and adds yet another layer of strain onto kidneys that are already working hard enough as it is. For someone whose kidneys are already struggling, that kind of phosphate load can be genuinely dangerous. For someone with perfectly healthy kidneys today, it's the kind of thing that quietly contributes to the decline people eventually just chalk up to getting older. The tricky part is that phosphate additives don't exactly announce themselves on a label. Look for ingredients starting with the word phosphate: sodium phosphate, calcium phosphate, phosphoric acid, sodium tripolyphosphate. If you see those words on an ingredient list, you're looking at a product engineered to deliver far more phosphorus than your body would ever get from the same food in its natural form. Once you start noticing sodium and phosphate additives together, you start to realize just how much of the modern food supply is quietly built around stressing this one organ system. And it gets even more uncomfortable when we talk about protein, because this next one involves a food most people consider the gold standard of healthy eating. I want to be careful here because I'm not about to tell you protein is bad. Your body absolutely requires it. What I'm talking about is a specific pattern that's become completely normal in modern eating: Large amounts of animal protein, especially red and processed meat, showing up at nearly every single meal, every single day, for years. Here's the mechanism. When you eat a large amount of animal protein, your body breaks it down into nitrogen-based waste products that your kidneys then have to filter out of your bloodstream. To do that filtering, blood flow through your kidneys increases, and pressure inside those microscopic filtering units climbs right along with it. For a healthy kidney handling this once in a while, that's a manageable, temporary load. But across decades, especially layered on top of high blood pressure or elevated blood sugar, that repeated overwork contributes to a steady, cumulative decline in kidney function. Exactly the kind of decline researchers have documented again and again in people who eat very high amounts of animal protein for years on end. And processed meat deserves its own call-out here, because it's not just one stressor. It's three stacked on top of each other. Bacon, sausage, deli meat, hot dogs. They're loaded with sodium. They're loaded with phosphate additives. And they're concentrated animal protein, all in one bite. When I see a kidney function decline faster than it has any business declining, a daily processed meat habit is one of the patterns that shows up again and again. The fix isn't eliminating meat from your life. It's proportion. Picture your plate cut into quarters. A portion of meat roughly the size of a deck of playing cards. Half the plate filled with vegetables. The rest split between whole grains and plant-based protein. Beans, lentils, tofu, nuts, seeds. People who eat this way consistently show better long-term kidney outcomes across study after study. Your kidneys aren't asking you to give up meat forever. They're asking you to stop making them filter a mountain of it 3 times a day, every day, for the rest of your life. Now here's where things get personal for almost everyone watching this, because the next category touches nearly every household in America. Sugar-sweetened beverages. A single can of regular soda holds somewhere around 9 to 10 teaspoons of sugar, most of it high fructose corn syrup. Order the large size at a fast food counter, and you can easily double that in one sitting. Sweet tea, sports drinks, energy drinks, flavored coffee drinks loaded with syrup. They all belong in this same category, and most people drink them without ever thinking twice. Here's why this one matters so much for your kidneys specifically. Diabetes is the single leading cause of kidney disease worldwide, and sugary drinks are one of the most direct paths to developing it. When blood sugar runs high year after year, it damages the tiny blood vessels inside your kidneys. The filtering units lose precision, protein starts leaking into urine that shouldn't be there, and kidney function slips away quietly in the background. On top of that, these drinks drive weight gain and metabolic problems that independently raise kidney disease risk all on their own. And there's growing evidence that the fructose itself, separate from diabetes, separate from weight gain, has a direct negative effect on kidney tissue, raising uric acid levels and contributing to small vessel damage inside the kidneys. Dark colas specifically get an extra mention here, likely because of that same phosphoric acid we just talked about a few minutes ago. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple, even if it doesn't feel that way at first. Water becomes your default. Sparkling water if you miss the bubbles. Unsweetened tea or black coffee. Whole fruit when you want something sweet instead of a fruit-flavored drink engineered in a lab. If there's one beverage swap that protects your long-term kidney health more than nearly anything else on this list, it's this one. Before we get to the last major category, I want to slow down for a second on something a lot of people ask me about, because it comes up constantly once people start paying attention to sugar. Artificial sweeteners and the diet versions of these same drinks. The instinct makes sense. If sugar is the problem, switching to the zero-calorie version feels like the obvious fix. The research here is genuinely mixed, and I'm not going to pretend it's settled science. But several large studies tracking diet soda drinkers over years have found associations with faster kidney function decline, particularly in people drinking multiple servings a day. Nobody fully understands the mechanism yet. Some researchers think it's about how artificial sweeteners affect the gut and metabolism in ways that indirectly stress the kidneys. Others think people who drink a lot of diet soda also tend to eat more processed food overall, which muddies the picture. What I tell people is simple. Don't treat diet soda as a free pass. If you're drinking several a day thinking you've solved the problem, you likely haven't solved nearly as much as you think. There's also a pattern worth mentioning here that doesn't get nearly enough attention. Dehydration itself, separate from anything you're eating or drinking. Your kidneys need adequate water flow to filter waste efficiently. When you're chronically underhydrated, and a huge number of adults walk around mildly dehydrated without realizing it, especially anyone drinking mostly coffee, soda, or alcohol instead of water. Your kidneys are forced to concentrate urine more aggressively and work harder to clear the same waste load with less fluid to work with. Over years, chronic mild dehydration has been linked to faster kidney function decline in multiple studies. The fix is almost laughably simple compared to everything else on this list. Drink enough water, consistently, every single day. Pay attention to the color of your urine. Pale yellow is the target. Dark yellow, repeatedly, is your kidneys quietly asking for more fluid than you're giving them. Now let's talk about the last major category, and it might be the most emotionally loaded conversation of the entire video, so let's handle it carefully. Alcohol, specifically the pattern of regular heavy drinking that has quietly become normal in so many adult lives. I'm not talking about a glass of wine at dinner with friends once in a while. I'm talking about the daily habit that creeps in so gradually most people never notice it becoming routine. When you drink, your kidneys are immediately pulled into processing and clearing that alcohol out of your system. Alcohol dehydrates you, and dehydration stresses kidney function directly. Heavy or chronic drinking raises blood pressure. It contributes to liver damage, and serious liver disease frequently drags kidney problems along with it. It throws off your electrolyte balance, which your kidneys then have to work overtime to correct. Heavy alcohol use is a well-established risk factor for chronic kidney disease, and even moderate drinking, when it happens every single day for years, adds up to real cumulative stress on an organ that's already managing a lot. Less is genuinely better than more here. A few alcohol-free days each week makes a measurable difference compared to daily drinking. And if alcohol has become a harder habit to manage than you'd like to admit, protecting your kidneys is one more solid reason, among many, to reach out for the kind of support that can actually help you change that relationship. Before we move into what to actually do about all of this, a few smaller patterns deserve a quick mention, because they don't fit neatly into the 5 categories, but they absolutely belong in this conversation. Foods extremely high in oxalates. Large amounts of spinach, beets, rhubarb, certain nuts, dark chocolate, can contribute to kidney stones in people who are prone to forming them. This doesn't mean spinach is dangerous or that you need to avoid it. For most people eating a normal, varied diet, it's a non-issue. But if you've ever had a kidney stone before, or if stones run in your family, this is genuinely worth discussing with your doctor, because oxalate-heavy eating patterns can make a recurrence more likely. And then there's a category that almost nobody connects to kidney health at all. Regular, frequent use of over-the-counter pain relievers, specifically ibuprofen and naproxen. These medications work by reducing blood flow to certain tissues, and your kidneys are particularly sensitive to that effect. An occasional dose for a headache or a sore back isn't the concern. The concern is the person who's quietly taking these multiple times a week, every week, for months or years, often for chronic pain they've never fully addressed with their doctor. That pattern is one of the more underappreciated causes of kidney damage I encounter, and it's almost entirely preventable once someone understands what's actually happening. If that sounds like your routine, it's worth a conversation with your doctor about alternatives, rather than just reaching for the same bottle out of habit. Now, I want to pause here and be completely honest with you about something, because I don't want to leave you in a place of pure fear without context, and I think you deserve that honesty. None of the foods I just described will single-handedly destroy a healthy person's kidneys overnight. Nobody eats one questionable lunch and wakes up with kidney disease. This isn't about one bad meal, one indulgent weekend, or one birthday cake. Kidney disease almost always develops slowly, over years, through a combination of factors stacking on top of each other. Genetics, high blood pressure, blood sugar, aging, certain medications, and yes, the dietary patterns we just walked through, repeated meal after meal, year after year, for decades. What I'm telling you is that these foods, eaten constantly, layered on top of whatever other risk factors you might already be carrying, meaningfully accelerate a decline that so many people simply write off as a normal part of getting older. It isn't always normal. Sometimes it's preventable, and that distinction matters enormously. Someone eating mostly fresh, whole food, with moderate animal protein, minimal processed food, and water as their go-to drink is giving their kidneys an environment where they can do their job without unnecessary strain. Someone eating the opposite pattern is asking their kidneys to compensate, every single day, for choices that were never made with those kidneys in mind. And eventually, that compensation runs out. Not dramatically, not with a single crisis moment, just gradually, quietly, the way it always happens with this particular organ. This isn't about panic, it's about awareness, and awareness is something you can actually act on starting tonight, with the very next thing you put in your mouth. So let me give you the short version, the part I want you to actually remember after this video ends. Cut back hard on processed and packaged food. That's where the hidden sodium and phosphate additives are doing the most damage. Replace sugary drinks with water as your everyday default. Treat processed meat as an occasional food, not a daily staple. Keep animal protein portions around the size of a deck of cards instead of covering half your plate. Build more meals around vegetables and plant-based protein. Drink alcohol with intention and give yourself alcohol-free days each week. Go easy on daily over-the-counter pain relievers and talk to your doctor if you're using them often. And get your kidney function checked through a simple blood and urine test, especially if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, a family history of kidney problems, or you're over 50. That last one matters more than almost anything else on this list, because early detection is genuinely one of the only tools that can catch this disease while there's still time to change its direction. None of that is flashy. None of it is the kind of thing that goes viral with a miracle promise attached. But it works, quietly, the same way these foods cause damage quietly, through repetition, day after day, for years. Has anyone ever sat you down and explained this clearly before today? Has anyone walked you through exactly which foods are pressuring your kidneys and exactly why? For most people watching this right now, I'd guess the honest answer is no. Kidney health barely comes up in everyday conversation, and that silence is part of why this disease catches so many people off guard. If this video gave you something worth knowing, send it to someone who needs to hear it. A parent, a partner, a friend who lives on takeout and soda. And drop a comment below telling me which of these habits is going to be the hardest one for you to change, or which one you're committing to fix this week. If kidney disease runs in your family, I'd genuinely like to hear that too. Conversations like that in the comments end up helping far more people than just the two of us talking here. Before you go, I want to leave you with something a little different because this topic deserves it. I've spent a long time around people whose kidneys eventually failed completely. I've seen what dialysis does to a person's week, the schedule that takes over everything else in their life, built around treatment sessions they can't skip, 3 or 4 days out of every 7, for the rest of however long they have. I've watched the restrictions pile up, the medications, the careful tracking of fluid and potassium and phosphorus that used to be such a casual, thoughtless part of eating and now has to be measured and managed every single day. The slow loss of independence that comes with a disease most of them never saw approaching. I've sat with people lucky enough to receive a transplant and watched what that gift gave back to them, and I've sat with others whose health never allowed them to even be considered for one. And almost none of them ever had a conversation like the one we just had. Almost none of them knew, back when they were 45 and feeling perfectly fine, that the choices on their plate every day were quietly steering them toward where they eventually ended up. You know now. You know which foods are doing the quiet damage. You know what to swap them for. You know what to ask your doctor to test. You know what early warning signs are worth taking seriously instead of brushing off. That knowledge is worth more than any supplement bottle promising a shortcut, because it's the actual foundation underneath everything else. The choice you make at your very next meal, and the one after that, and the one after that, is how this knowledge stops being information and starts being protection. Your kidneys have worked for you, silently, every single day of your life, without ever once asking for credit. The least they deserve in return is a little more attention to what you're putting on your plate. Start small if you need to, but start now while you still have the chance for it to matter. I'm Jassica Williams, and I'll see you in the next one.